Donc aujourd'hui, je vais vous parler d'une...
I'm going to talk about a trend that is called Made in Locally. It used to be a micro trend and now it's becoming more general, and it's going to upset certain codes. So the Made in Locally used to be more a food issue. We wanted to eat better and eat around where we live, and now it's something that we see in all parts of life. And especially for objects, we want them to be manufactured locally. But made in locally just doesn't mean short circuit. It is something that reconciles gestures and thoughts to develop a more virtuous and more committed perspective to meet the needs of visitors, French, European, and international, who want something else and who want to consume with meaning. We have split this trend made in locally into three trends. The first one is a exclusive and excessive ready-made. So there's certain brands that we have in our museum boutiques. So we have the whole official collection of the Eiffel Tower. For us, it's important, even if it's small products that are accessible, it matters to us that it's well made. And it's a printer in Montreuil. It's very close to Paris, so it's very local. And even for all of the textile, it's made in France. And there's also a lot of focus on deforestation and eco-design and organic ink that is being looked at. Another example that we have with the Musée des Confluents, we also wanted to have a very young know-how and specific know-how, so we've developed paper products with Émilie, who is a graphic designer in Lyon. So it is important for us to create this link between people who live the city and know the city and draw the city. For the Museum of the Quai Branly, we have developed with a brand called Coco d'en Haut a whole reproduction of the shadow theater puppets that are present in the museum. It's important to create a link between what the museum have and products that we can create. So we've recreated these theater puppets in Marseille with a company that is specialized in all of these creations to develop imagination and story. For the Matisse Museum in Nice, we are in association with Mon Petit Art. So this is also in the zeitgeist, and it is important to have visitors of today that follow trends. And we saw that with COVID, puzzles are something that really grew, and we have used the Blue Nude by Matisse, and we have created this puzzle with Mon Petit Art. For the Army Museum, we were inspired by the camo that is in the collections, and we have socks. This is the trending product right now. This is what we have in our museum. Developed this with the Trousseau Museum, so it's the light of the young creators. It's important to have stores we have reference stores to please ourselves and please others with products that make sense and that tell a story. It is the usual visitors that come out of the captive museum, but people from the outside are sensitive to all of those details that we can bring to these products. There are exceptional know-hows for us locally and elsewhere, And this gives us a singular offer that makes sense. For instance, we work a lot with Vanessa Mitrani, who is a glass blower, and she creates some unique pieces for each of our museum stores at the Army Museum or at the National Opera of Paris. She creates them for us, and she creates them in order to do a unique offer. She keeps her specificity and her personality, but she associates it also with the editorial line and the history of the museums. So for Pascal Lyon, she's a former architect, and she created all of these jewels. She's very appreciated in the Army Museum because she's working on the chainmail suits. So it's always interesting to meet such creators and have them work alongside the museum. For museum, we did a whole selection where everything is created and crafted in Marseille, because there's a lot of creativeness in Marseille, and it seemed important to us to highlight not only know-hows like the etching, engraving, but also the whole Marseille identity that you can find in these products. Something else as well, the Domaine des Aidants. So with the Museum of Decorative Arts, we give him a carte blanche. It is a place that is a hotel, but also a museum for the whole region. So it's interesting to do things more globally. There's young creators, but also the whole region that tells a common story. And they've developed creations that brought together designers and craftsmen to make a whole collection that we have presented at the Museum of Decorative Arts. With the Carnavalet Museum, it's the history of Paris, of course, so we shine a spotlight on everything that the city of Paris can do with its labels, with its incubators. It's also important to be able to support all of this momentum from the city of Paris, so we are showing the whole range of products for these craftsmen, which of creating specifically Parisian products and talking about the history of Paris. It is important to give it some space. This is an absolutely excellent honey, and I cannot recommend it enough. This is a collective group that is called Déjà Vu. They're working on the architecture of the city, the architecture of Paris, and they're taking symbols and they're transferring it into objects. And this is part of the incubators of the Atelier de Paris. And for us, it is important to show it. We have shown it first in the gift shop of the Eiffel Tower, and we're going to present them again at the Carnavalet Museum, because the history of Paris might be old, but it's also the history of today, so we need to show current creation. It is also a beautiful vision of the souvenir objects that you have walking around Paris and what you could find in a museum store. It's not just a postcard or a magnet. It just has a deeper meaning. You also have sustainable objects that are manufactured locally in short circuits, but also to create links. It can be very much further. It's in Africa. You can get African craftsmen to work on jewels that are going to be shown in France. It's not just in France. We're creating links with the world. We're working with a textile store in Paris, in Marseille, that is very atypical. We've had them to work on many museums, and it's a beautiful story. So they support men and women who have accidents through their lives, and they remobilize them through social work. So it's very virtuous. They have they get material that is not being sold, and with this they manufacture beautiful products, and when we came across them, we fell in love with them, and we thought we were going to develop a collection for each of our museum that meets these codes, and they're all different, but it seems important to us to be able to express this in many different ways and to explain this to all of our visitors and clients to make them aware. And it gives us a very interesting product. And if we need to choose a little bag, we can maybe choose this one rather than one that you find everywhere. I was talking about what is far away and creating a link, but local doesn't need to mean made in France. So with Édition Queyrin, we have developed a specific collection for the Museum Branly, and we were inspired by their crocodile, and we had Draman Konate, craftsman from Burkina Faso, to work on this. It is a piece of jewelry that comes from Eastern Africa, but we're having a Western African work on it. So for us, it was important to have it made where all of the collections from Quai Branly came from. And also Papier Merveille, which is more some upcycling. So we're reusing and materials in order to make something new with them, something current that is in the zeitgeist, but to tell ourselves that we're not just buying something to throw it away. Lastly, we have Cutie Cutie that has objects to create as a family, because one of the objects of museum stores is to make the public discover new things and to support new trends like made in locally, but also everything that is learning within the family. So here we encourage children to be creative, and this is shared by the brand, and these products are manufactured 100% in France, but they can also be repaired and recycled, and that's what is important. So with all of these trends that I've showed you in all of these museum stores, it's important to know that this trend is going to last, because these visitors who are educated people who are looking for this are very much there. We get a lot of questions about where our products are manufactured, and is the tote bag made in France or in China or in Europe? These questions keep cropping up regularly in our stores, and it's important to be able to answer this with a different range of product, from little prices to big ticket items, so that everybody going through our museum can access what is local, and rather say that it's for people who are have more means. So all of our paper goods are principally made in France. There's also all of the increase of raw materials and transport. So even if we pay labor a little bit more, and this production cost will very quickly have it compensated by reduced transportation costs, and it allows us to have smaller series and have products that make sense and that are more interesting and better for the planet. Thank you very much.